Hello, everyone. In this video, I'm reacting to the current state of every Supercell game. So yeah, let's just get right into it.
As of right now, Supercell has 6 global games and 2 games
Nice.
that are currently getting worked on, and all of these games are in different stages, with
Yes.
some getting bigger and bigger, while others are barely hanging on. So
Yes.
today, I just want to go over all of
hmm
these games to see where they are at
Let's
and
see.
how they are doing, so
hmm
let's get right
Let's do
into it.
it.
First up, we have Heyday,
Yeah.
which is the oldest Supercell game and
Yeah.
also one of the best performers despite you never really hearing about
I
it.
see.
This is because Heyday has much more of a casual audience compared to the other Supercell
I
games,
understand.
as it is a PvE game and it
Yes.
tends to attract a much older demographic. This is why
Makes
you don't
sense.
see it too much on social media or anything,
I
but
see.
despite that, it still has a pretty big player base and the
Uh-huh.
game is honestly going really well, and it
hmm
does have a nice tight community. And
Yes.
about a month ago, they had probably the biggest collaboration happen as they got Gordon Ramsay,
I
which
see.
is something I would never have expected in a million years.
Wow.
This shows that despite the game not being all that talked
Amazing.
about, it is still doing really well to secure a collaboration like that.
Yes.
Plus, the game is getting cool events and
Yeah.
overall is staying pretty active, and I would
Cool.
say the game is really
I
healthy,
played
and
it
I'm
when I was
happy to
younger.
see that since it is a game I had first played over 10 years ago. So it's nice to look back and see that it is still doing really
Cool.
well, and Heyday really just highlights how good a strong community is and how
Yes.
important the core gameplay is to the success of a
Yes.
game, since without all of that, it wouldn't have been able to
Exactly.
survive and thrive for so long.
Yes.
But even more successful and
Yeah.
more well known than that is Clash of Clans,
Yes.
which has been in a pretty interesting place lately. 2 months
Yes.
ago, we got the Town Hall 17
Wow,
update,
it's up to
which was
Town
a
Hall
major
17.
update for many different reasons, with some being more controversial than others. First of all, we had the merging of the Town Hall and the Eagle Artillery, which was just kind of crazy and not
Wow.
something a lot of people expected because of how iconic and important the Eagle Artillery
I
was.
see.
This was probably the most controversial thing to come out of this update,
Makes
as
sense.
people had mixed feelings about this, but overall, it was a pretty
hmm
big step forward for the game when it
I
came to
see.
defense merging feature, and it opened up a lot of possibilities and showed us that nothing can really
hmm
be ruled out. But outside of that, we also got a 5th hero in the game, which was also a
Cool.
big deal since the last time we got a new hero was all the way back at Town Hall 11 for the Grand Warden. This
Wow.
new hero brought with it the Hero Hall, which opened the door to just add in a ton more heroes into the game,
Cool.
since the big problem in the past was that we didn't
Yeah.
know how to account for
Makes
more than
sense.
4 heroes in the game,
Yes.
but this provided a solution, and this will have a big
Yeah.
impact on the
Yes, it
future of
will.
the game. Those were really like the main important parts of the update, and
hmm
along with that, we got normal update things like new defenses and
I
troops and
see.
stuff, and we more recently had the February update, which had quite a lot of quality of
I
life
see.
improvements that people were happy about, which was a pretty good thing. And as a whole, the game has
Nice.
been performing pretty well, and the community is just growing and getting stronger as the game continues to grow and get even better, and overall the future looks really good for the game in my opinion.
Yes.
However, the same cannot be said for the next game, which is Boom Beach.
Yeah.
Now, it is no secret that Boom Beach really isn't doing too great right now, or for
Yeah.
the last few years. It honestly feels like the game has just been neglected, and I personally feel like it is way too far gone now for Supercell to do anything about it, or to
No, it can
try
be
and save
saved.
it in any way whatsoever. All that really happens is the game gets updates from time to time for the current active players, and that's about it. There is a small but really tight community for the game that is really just keeping it alive and keeping the servers going. The last upload to their YouTube channel was over 10 months ago, which is
Wow.
also when they stopped doing the monthly videos and stuff, and I would say this marked the point where Supercell really just let go of the game and
I see.
decided to make it something that is just low priority so that they can focus on creating the next game
I
or
understand.
providing more resources to their other more popular games. And don't
hmm
get me wrong, I think that Boom Beach is a great game.
Yeah.
However, it just didn't have enough of an audience to fully grow and establish itself
I see.
because it was built off the back of Clash of Clans, and people just moved towards that game and left Boom Beach behind.
hmm
Personally, I think having no walls is interesting, along with being able to
I
control
see.
where your troops go, but those
Interesting.
things also led towards the game dying because it got too repetitive,
Yeah.
as everyone would literally have the same strategies and bases
Wow.
because there is only so much you can do without walls.
Yes.
So overall, I think this will be the first global Supercell game that we see actually get shut down, but I think we still have plenty of years until that
Yeah. Many,
happens
many years
because
to
the
go.
community is currently strong enough to keep the game running, but it is getting smaller and smaller. But next up, we have Clash Royale,
Yeah.
which is probably the most controversial Supercell game. At a time, this was seen as being the biggest game, but as of the last few
Yeah.
years, not so much. It really seemed like the game was getting more and more pay to win, with the offers just being more and more expensive in the shop without
I see.
anything actually changing. This, along with a bunch of other things like evolutions and stuff, made Clash Royale really
Yeah.
controversial, but as of more recently, I would personally say that the game is seeming to make a bit of a comeback. It
Yeah.
seems like the whole pay to win thing is just being more widely accepted now, as people have just gotten used to it and understand
Yeah.
that it's just going to be a part of the game now.
I
And
see.
the more recent
I feel like
updates
it
are
was always
generally
pay to
more
win.
well received, with better cards being added that more people are happy with, since I know a few months ago
Hmm.
it seemed like every single card was just pay to win and super controversial for
Yeah.
various reasons. As a whole, the game is still nowhere near where it was at the peak when
Yeah.
it came to overall sentiment. However, the game is definitely improving, and
Yes, it
I'm
is.
interested in seeing where it goes in the future and
Let's
if
see where it
Supercell
goes.
can keep this streak up. This could possibly be the biggest
Yeah.
comeback ever made by a video game if Supercell manages to somehow do it, but
Yeah.
I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But next up, we've got Brawl
Yeah.
Stars, which is currently the biggest and best performing Supercell game.
Yeah.
Now, outside of the small controversy related to Brawlentines, the game has been pretty unproblematic for the
Yeah.
most part and overall has just been doing really well.
Yes.
2 months ago, we got the Toy Story collaboration, which was
Cool.
massive and really iconic because Toy Story is probably one of the best animated movie franchise out there, and I'm
Yeah.
sure most people recognize it. And let me
Yes.
know down below if you think this collaboration was bigger than the Gordon Ramsay collaboration that he did with
I see.
Heyday, since both of them are just very popular and iconic things that
Farm.
I
Cool.
feel like most people would know. But anyways, with Brawl Stars, it has honestly been pretty normal overall. We are regularly getting new brawlers along with fun
Cool.
events and stuff, and there isn't like anything super drastic happening. In the future, I just see this game continuing to do well, and I believe
Yes.
it'll
Nice.
remain among the top games worldwide for a pretty long time.
Yeah.
But the same cannot be said for Squad Busters, which probably had the biggest rise and fall of any Supercell game. This game was super hyped up and pushed to a global launch despite not really having enough content to support such a big and broad
I see.
audience. This would lead to it initially having really strong numbers with all the promotion that Supercell did throughout their other games. However,
see.
the numbers would soon fall off a cliff as players just stopped playing due to there not being enough content, and it wouldn't be
I
until
see.
December that the game finally got a big update with new game modes and
I see.
stuff. And right now, it is the closest to Boom Beach when it comes to numbers, which
I see.
definitely isn't a good thing.
No, it
But
doesn't.
despite all of that, I don't think it is too late right now for
No,
them to
it's not
save
too
the
late.
game. They just need to do a lot of promotion again to
Yes.
make people aware of all that has changed. And I
Makes
really think
sense.
the game will be able to get big enough to be
Yes.
at levels closer to the other Supercell games
Yeah.
like Clash of Clans and Brawl Stars. But with that, we have all
Supercell
the
has been
global
around for a
games that
while, and I
Supercell
played
has
their games when I
made.
was a kid, which
However,
is
there are
awesome.
currently 2 other games currently being worked on that we need to go over, with the
Yes.
first being Project Rise. Now, the interesting thing about this is that it used to be called Clash Heroes, but I guess they did a
Hmm.
big rebranding and decided to
Well.
go with the name Project Rise to probably make it
And-
not rely as heavily on the Clash brand. And
Oh, that
Project
looks fun.
Rise would also be a multiplayer game, while Clash Heroes was supposed to be single player. But either way, this game is really interesting and it's kind of similar to Squad Busters in the overall feel with the 3D stuff. But
Wow.
I think this game will just be more fun as it is kind of like a dungeon style game, and
I
I
see.
just personally like those types of games. Now, this is still fairly early in development, so we
Yeah.
don't know much. However, there is an alpha test that was announced a month ago, and this is a really good sign of progress.
Yes,
And
it is.
considering how Clash Heroes was rebranded into this and how it seems to be a big focus, I really do think there is a chance of Project Rise becoming a global game, but that is
Yes.
at least 1 or 2 years out in my opinion, considering
Yeah.
we're just in alpha right now. But I am still excited for whatever news is coming up on this game. But finally, we have Mode.co, which is probably the most unique Supercell game out there and something that I think also looks really
Yeah.
cool. The art style of this game is really different, and overall, it is about monster hunting and pretty different from most other Supercell games. It is
Monster
probably the
hunting,
most
cool.
similar to Clash Heroes, and that shows us that Supercell is heading in a bit of a different direction with their games, which is cool. We aren't really seeing any games like Clash of Clans or Heyday or anything anymore, and
Yeah, we
now
aren't.
things are a lot lot more fighting based, where you control the player like it
Yeah,
is with
exactly.
Brawl Stars and Squad Busters. This is a cool direction that Supercell is headed in, and I'm
Hmm.
really interested in seeing where it all leads to. And
Hmm.
I really do hope that Moko can be successful,
Yeah,
because despite us not knowing much about the game, we have seen enough that it looks pretty
I
interesting,
see.
and I really do want to see where it ends up in the future.
Let's
But
see.
with that, we have the current state of every Supercell game. As a whole, it
Awesome.
looks like the company is doing well with most of their current games, and the future
That's
ones
great.
also look really promising. So the future as a whole for the company is looking really bright, and I'm
Great.
interested in seeing where it goes. I really do hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all in the next one.
Awesome.